Well, let's get more on this now with Martin Plaut, a fellow at the Institute of Commonwealth Studies. He joins us now from London. Good to have you back with us, Martin. The 24-hour weekend ceasefire was really the only one that has actually held for the most part. Why has it been so difficult to broker a truce that lasts?
Well, it's very simple. Both sides think that they can achieve more by fighting than they can by talking or negotiating. And they are both, in a sense, convinced that they can control either the capital, Khartoum or Omdurman, and that they can control the areas that they are, in which they are based, particularly for the RSF and Hemeti, which is in the Darfur area and western Sudan.
Yes, and we know that most of these ceasefires were designed to allow for the delivery of humanitarian aid to the people in Sudan who desperately need it the most. Do we know, has any of that been successful? Have they managed to get these much-needed aid supplies?
I mean, there have been some aid that has got through, but the other thing, of course, it has allowed people to actually escape. I mean, we're talking about something like 400,000 people who have fled the country, and about half of those have got through to Egypt, as your reporter correctly said. This has now become more difficult by additional measures that the Egyptians are putting on their neighbors, which is difficult to understand really why they're doing that. But I mean, the real question is, at what point do either side think that they have achieved enough of their goals that they can begin to seriously talk? Now, there are negotiations going on all over the place. There's a meeting of IGAD, the Horn of Africa regional organization in Djibouti today, at which this could be discussed. There are talks with the Arab League. There are talks with the African Union. President Museveni of Uganda is involved. Everybody's trying to find a way forward. But at the moment, there seems to be more to be gained from the fighting by both sides than there is from talking.
That's right. And what's many have considered as the most serious talks are the ones that have been brokered by the US and Saudi Arabia, being held in Saudi Arabia. We know they've held several meetings to no avail. We also don't know much detail about what exactly each side wants. But if you were to hazard a guess, what is it that the Army and the RSF are really looking for? I mean, what agreement could they likely finally agree on?
Well, it all comes down to one central point. The army basically has decided that it cannot allow the RSF, which was specifically created to provide an alternative security force for the Sudanese government, that didn't have to rely on the army. The army decided that it couldn't tolerate an additional organization which was basically threatening its monopoly of force in the country. And they demanded that the RSF be brought into the army and brought under its control. Now, the question, therefore, is, will the RSF be forced to do this, accept within, say, a period of time that they'll integrate into the army, or will they basically be able to hold out and hold up their autonomy? And those are the two sort of different positions. But the suffering of the people in the meantime is immense. And, there are really racist statements which are coming out of the RSF, particularly in the Darfur area, where people go around saying, oh, this is now an Arab town. I'm sorry, these towns always have been mixed towns with Africans and Arabs living in them. And for the RSF to try and ethnically cleanse them, as they have done before. Don't forget, these people came out of the Janjaweed, who are a word which literally means devils on horseback. And they are the people who have been undertaking this. The army also has a bad human rights record, so there are a lot of problems to be resolved. But the key question is, where will power lie? Will it be in a dual power structure or a single power structure with the army in control? That we don't know yet.
Yes, and all the while, the long-awaited transition for democracy takes a back seat. We will have to leave it there, Martin, but great to get your analysis as always. Thank you.